Aloha, namaste. This is Alexis Cox with Radha Home Yoga, and I'm here to bring you the new moon forecast for this coming Friday for January 24th. We have our new moon in sidereal Capricorn in the star of Shravana. And Shravana is where we learn to listen. We learn to separate ourselves from all the noise, from all the fray, from everything that's going on around us, and to find that deeper listening, that deeper sense of being able to hear what is going on beneath the surface. There are words that are being said. There's, of course, so much in our current society with TVs and phones and iPads and just constant distraction going on. And how can we find that message that's underneath it all? And how can we find what we need to really get out of any information that comes our way? How can we distill it down, and how can we discern what is important and what is not? I'm just going to take one moment here, and if you will, you can close your eyes and just listen to this sound. I can create a number of different sounds. Some of them will be louder, some of them will be more clear, and some of them will sort of fade and disappear, and you won't be able to hear them. But if you listen quiet enough, you let your mind be quiet and you let your heart do the listening, you can hear something a little bit lasting, something that remains, and that is the kernel, the wisdom, what's left for you amidst all the noise. And that's what Shravana allows us to do. And we can do it through mantra, we can do it through listening to music, we can use singing bowls and harmoniums and other instruments to sort of bring us to this place. And we can practice it every day in our listening to ourselves, to the words we speak. If you have children, the way you speak to your children. If you have a partner, the way you speak with your partner. To the people you engage with out and about in the world, to our coworkers and people we work with. Really just all the time we can listen to ourselves, and we can listen to everyone else and what's going on beneath this sort of clamor. And especially if you have TV or you watch TV, I don't personally like to have that around me very much, but when I enter a room or a space or even land at the airport, and it's like the first thing that kind of comes at me, it bombards me with all this noise, and especially if the news is on, you just, or I just have this experience of sort of overwhelm, like, wow, I can't believe people have this on all the time. You know, my parents, I can't believe people I know and love bombard their brain with this all the time, because it's just constant noise and constant information coming into you at all times without really allowing you to set those boundaries as to what you want to carefully take in and what you want to, allow yourself to then process and put out again into the world. So this new moon is a lot around that theme. Not only are the moon and sun together in Shravana, in this new moon, in this new cycle, but we also have Mercury there, and Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet where we do take in information and where we do process it and send it back out into the world through words, through writing or speech, through our engagement with others. Now there's a lot of online communication that occurs, and things on social media and stuff like that. We communicate through images. We communicate through the art that we decide to watch, take in, look at, and also create. We live in a very imagistic world, a world where images play a big part in what we see and what we take in. So we have a lot of communication that occurs that we're not as aware of. Just like I just spoke about, getting bombarded with all this mental information. Well, we actually also have that on a visual level at all times. Just driving around, you see billboards, or you see different people dressed certain ways in cars, and different flashes of things that you see, and you make something of it in your head, whether or not you really realize it. That you're actually creating a story around that, and it's constantly being fed to you through everything you see. That's why advertising is so powerful, because we are able to just take in all this information in mass, and it goes to our brain. I mean, I haven't really had a regular, I haven't had a TV in my home in a very, very, very long time, and I still sometimes will have like a commercial from my childhood come out of nowhere, some little jingle that I remember from when I was little, and it sticks with you, it stays with you. So it's important to be aware of that. There's not much we can do to keep out, the random noise in the outside world, but we can keep our home, more attuned to ourselves and our needs and that of our family, and we can choose what to take in and out in that world. And we can also really choose carefully our words and our communication styles, and how we offer our thoughts to others. So that's something we can practically, tangibly work on in this new moon cycle, because it is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is a place where we work hard, where we put effort into things, where we humble ourselves enough to realize that there's even an effort needing to be made, and where we're able to see a long-term goal. Like, this is something I want to achieve in the long run. This is this is worthy of my time, this is worthy of my effort, and I'm going to do all these different steps to get there. That's something that we don't always have access to, that tenacity and that willingness to really be in it for the long haul, and the commitments that need to be made around that, because there will be things that come up that sideway us, and there will be things that make us question whether or not our commitments are good commitments. And having that willingness to say and see, really have some vision involved too, and see what it is that needs to be done, and that is both taking care of our responsibilities that we need to take care of, but also feeding our spirit in some way, and doing it, actually putting one foot in front of the other and doing it despite all the odds and despite all the things that might come up, is really very strong sign of character in the end. And we have had the planet Saturn in Jupiter's sign of Sagittarius for the past 3 years. So we've been sort of, committing to our beliefs and feeling really strongly about them. Unfortunately, Saturn and Jupiter are not the friendliest planets, and so Saturn being in Sagittarius doesn't necessarily give us commitment to good beliefs. It just gives us commitment to beliefs, and it gives us a rigidity around that, and a contraction, a lack of expansion, which is really what we need around our ideals and our beliefs and our hope and our optimism. We need more of that expansive energy, more of that energy that connects us to something higher. So when Jupiter moved into his own sign of Sagittarius in November, we started to feel that light again, like, oh yes, this was what connected me, this was the wisdom, this was the teachings that spoke to me. And now that Saturn is kind of moving into his own sign of Capricorn, where that energy is much more comfortable, we're all going to feel that shift like kind of cement. The Jupiter stepping in was like the first step of it, and now Saturn stepping into his own sign is sort of like cementing that a little bit and making it more solid, that we are not only inspired, but now we can take practical action. Our fear can work for us as opposed to against us. When we are sitting there with this pressure on our head and this fear, but it's in the realms that Saturn has been in for the last really 6 years, just before this in Sagittarius, like I said, with with our ideals and our beliefs and the sort of passion that Sagittarius brings, But prior to that, it was in Scorpio, which is all about emotions and also fears and real fears and imagined fears, and this sort of calamitous crossfire between Saturn and Scorpio, where we don't know what's up and what's down and what we're really fearing and why, and it's so emotional that we're just freezing. We find ourselves just freezing, except of course when Mars moved in and exploded everything. So this experience we've been having with our fear, with our hard work, with our commitment, with our humility, with our capacity to experience these things has been sort of in signs that don't really work very well. And now that that is moving into its own sign of Capricorn, we have practical, tangible things we can do with that fear. We can be aware there is X amount of time, not only in this day, not only in this month, not only in this year, but in all of our life. Like, this is how much time is left in our life, and we don't even know what that time is. So it could be only a day or a month or a year. And there's only so much time maybe for all humans. And there is only, so much that can be done in so much time. So start now, put your knees down on the ground and start scrubbing, or start laying the bricks, or start, walking the steps you need to walk towards wherever you're going. Like, start doing what you need to do, because it's not going to become less work by waiting longer. The time will become shorter, but the workload will remain the same, and you'll have less time to, reap the rewards of your work, or less likely to see it come to its fruition, less likely to have your needs met. The most immediate thing in Capricorn is just that security. That goal is like to secure the future, to make sure that you are taken care of and that your immediate family is taken care of. That's really where the sort of selfish quality of Capricorn comes in. It's a fear that's based in reality. That's not these imagined fears of Scorpio. It's real fears, like you will die if you don't have, food, water, shelter, and, in this world, money to buy those things. If you don't do what needs to be done, then it won't be done. and it's pretty simple. So that simplicity, that practicality, that effort, and really just sort of straight line of like, do it, and will you run into a hurdle? Of course. Will you stack the bricks and then like something happened, and I know nothing about bricklaying, but something went awry and now you need to restack the bricks? Yeah, for sure that will happen. For sure you will be laying those bricks and relaying them and doing all kinds of things. I should use an analogy I know something about. But you have to do it again. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep going back to it again and again, because ultimately, if you don't start at all, you won't know what those mistakes are in order to prevent them the next time you run through. And that's what life is. It's taking steps, it's taking action, finding out what didn't work, going back and hitting the drawing board again, and going back to square one sometimes. Maybe each time you go back just a little bit less, and you come in a little wiser, and you get a little further. And that's where we're at right now. So Saturn is going to be moving on Thursday, so the day before this new moon. And we have 3 years to enjoy this sort of practical, efficient, hardworking humility. And it will be different for each of the signs. Each of the different rising signs will experience this in a different way. And I just finished a report where I sort of outline that for each rising sign, tell you like what houses it is for you, what area of your life is going to be affected, and how you relate to that Saturnian energy. So it's a really great report, and if you are not already on my email list, please do sign up for that, and you will get that directly to your inbox, so you can know what the next 3 years have in store for you. This particular new moon, like I said, has Moon, Sun, Saturn, and Mercury all there in Capricorn. We still have the South Node in Sagittarius, and Jupiter is joining the South Node there. And they're pretty close, about 5 degrees apart. So while we do have that hope and optimism and faith that Jupiter and Sagittarius brings, and that's really, I can't stress enough how much both Jupiter being in his own sign and Saturn being in his own sign is really a blessing for us in this year to come, because it really offers us just a lot of wisdom with those two planetary energies, and a lot of grace flowing through Jupiter, and then that hard work that I just spoke of with Saturn. But right now, the south node is really close to Jupiter, and so we're seeing that there's some distance from our light. There's some distance from our wisdom and our teachings and our ideals. There's some disconnect still there. A part of us that's not totally in and totally present. We, have had a lot of turmoil in this area. So there's a lot of upsets. Like if you have a lot of belief systems that are intertwined with the larger political or social world around us, and most of us do, there's like a lot of sort of distance from that right now, cut off. Like maybe you're not fully into it as much as you could be, because you're not so confused about your beliefs anymore. Although on some level you're confused about your commitments, because as Saturn actually moves into the new sign, it's this sort of shaky area where we're not sure what we're actually committing to. So once Saturn is sort of solidly in his new placement in Capricorn, your knowledge of what it is you just believe that you're going to commit to is going to be a lot stronger. So instead of sort of, knowing what you believe but not really caring enough or wanting to actually do anything about it, you might find yourself more involved in action. But also the South Node just brings a disconnect. It just brings a part of us where we're not really present in this world. We don't really care that much, and we're not really wanting to deal with that thing at that moment. So that's some of what we're experiencing with Jupiter at this time. Mars is still in his own sign of Scorpio, just like in the last report I did. So we still have a lot of courage available to us, especially emotional courage, a lot of capacity to really look at ourselves and, do the physical work that we need to do in order to face our fears and face our challenges and work through the dark stuff that's in us. Because really, if we're ever going to change anything out there, we need to start here. And it's been a big theme in my last couple forecasts I've done, and I've seen that theme playing out over other people I know who are really tuned in too. It's just a reality we're coming to at this point. It's like we can only point the finger for so long. There's only so long you can jump up and down and be in some camp and put all your eggs in that basket, because at the end of the day, whatever exists outside of us also exists somewhere inside of us. For sure it does. And if we can see it and we can name it outside of us, we can also see and name it in ourselves. And this time, when we do have this courage, we do have this discipline available to us in this area, it's really a good time to do some of that inner work that you might not want to do. Even just showing up on your mat and meditating every day, showing up and being present with yourself while you're doing physical exercise, noticing the part of you that is competitive, or noticing the part of you that gets angry, or noticing the part of you that wants to just dismiss, cut off, and exit when confrontation comes up or conflict comes up. Noticing all those different ways that you act to things, or maybe you have a different way of acting. Maybe you cling to something and don't want to let it go, or you have a hard time with boundaries and allowing yourself to know when someone's crossing your boundaries, or when your boundaries are being crossed, or even setting them out to begin with. So all of these things are sort of themes we could be working through and through daily practice, because that's really what Mars does best for us, is just have us show up every day. Just do it, Show up on your mat every day. Drink some lemon water in the morning, and then walk over to a pillow if you don't have a yoga mat, and cross your legs and breathe consciously for 10 minutes. If you do have a physical practice other than yoga, do it. If you have any mantra work you do, or shadow work you do, or partner work you do, or whatever it is you do it. Now is the time to do it. Get up every day and do what it is that you do that helps keep you in that groove, because doing it again and again and again, that is the discipline. That's the discipline. Showing up and doing it. Venus is also still in the same placement it was last time I spoke here 2 weeks ago, when we were on the other eclipse end. We were on the lunar eclipse. Venus had moved into Aquarius, had just moved into Aquarius. Now she's right there at 19 degrees in Satyabhishak, and we see ourselves really wanting to find happiness for everyone, really wanting to find that community vision of happiness that can work, and really crossing borders and frontiers and allowing ourselves to embrace a new idea of what not only happiness can be, but pleasure can be, what romantic relationships can be, all of that, the new frontiers of Aquarius, really allowing us to find a love within ourselves. It's not necessarily as intimate as we might like all the time, but is more universal and more for everyone. And right now, that's just where we're at. So we can find beauty, we can find art, we can find things that really help elevate that for ourselves and for the world. And we have a lot of potential right now with Satyabhishak specifically to tap into that healing energy, the 100 healers of Ayurveda, allowing ourselves to use preferably natural healing methods to help bring more comfort, more happiness. How on earth can anyone be happy if we're suffering, if we're in pain, if we're sick? So allowing ourselves to tap into that wisdom that we have, and that's really ours. It's our birthright being here on earth, because we have inherited so much wisdom and so much knowledge from generations and generations of cultures who have practiced healing themselves in natural ways. So we have access to that. It's there, and it's been tested and over time. And so finding what you need to heal yourself, and then maybe helping offer that to others in the world around us. So hopefully this is helpful. It's a little short overview of this new moon and what we're setting off for, and how we're really going to be working towards practical, tangible results in not just this new month, but really for the next 3 years with Saturn in Capricorn. So that's a huge blessing for all of us, and I hope you do get that free report. Again, you can sign up on my website, www.radhahomeyoga.com. That's RADHA, home, HOME, yoga, yoga.com. And when you go to the forecast, you'll see not only the written portion of this video, but then also a little thing in the side where you can sign up and get the bi-monthly reports that I do, and then these free reports I do when something big happens. Like we just had Jupiter in Sagittarius. I did that report in November, and now will be the Saturn in Capricorn. Have a blessed new moon. Namaste.